I Contain Multitudes by Ed Yong. Picture this. It's a warm California day at the San Diego Zoo. A small crowd is gathered, not around a roaring lion or a towering giraffe, but around a quiet, almost shy creature that looks like a cross between an anteater and a pine cone. It's a pangolin named Baba, curled around his zookeeper's waist like the world's most peculiar belt. Now, a scientist named Rob Knight approaches, not with a stethoscope or a measuring tape, but with a simple cotton swab. He gently dabs the swab against Baba's face, his armored scales, his paws. What's he up to? He's not checking for illness. He's collecting a universe. He's gathering the invisible inhabitants of planet Pangolin, trillions of microbes living on and inside this one small animal. That simple act, that gentle swab, opens the door to one of the most profound revolutions in modern biology. It's a story explored with breathtaking clarity by the brilliant science writer Ed Yong in his landmark book, I Contain Multitudes. This isn't just a book about germs or bacteria. It's a book that fundamentally redefines what it means to be an animal, what it means to be an individual, and what it means to be you. Since its release, this book has been hailed as a modern classic, a masterwork that sold hundreds of thousands of copies and reshaped how both scientists and the public think about the living world. Ed Yong, a staff writer for The Atlantic and a Pulitzer Prize winner, has a rare gift for making the complex feel simple and the invisible feel real. He spent years traveling the globe, talking to renegade scientists who dared to look where no one else was looking, to piece together this incredible story. And today my promise to you is this: by the end of our journey together, you'll never see yourself or any other living creature in the same way again. You'll discover that you're not a single being, but a thriving, bustling, walking ecosystem. You're a colony. You're a collective. You are, as the poet Walt Whitman wrote, large, and you contain multitudes. Let's start our story, not in a modern lab, but hundreds of years ago, in the bustling city of Delft, in the Netherlands. Our hero is a man named Antony van Leeuwenhoek. He wasn't a trained scientist. He was a draper, a seller of cloth. But he had a secret passion. In his spare time, he crafted the most powerful microscope lenses the world had ever seen. One day, out of sheer curiosity, he decided to look at a drop of pond water. And what he saw changed history. The water, which looked perfectly clear to the naked eye, was teeming with life. Tiny creatures, which he called animalcules, were dancing, spinning, and zipping around. He'd discovered a hidden reality, an entire kingdom of life that existed right under our noses, completely unseen. He even scraped the plaque from between his own teeth and found, to his delight, that his mouth was home to more living creatures than all the people in the Netherlands. For the longest time, this was just a curiosity, a marvel. But then, about 200 years later, scientists like Louis Pasteur and Robert Koch came along. They made a terrifying connection. Some of these invisible microbes, these germs, could cause disease. And with that, our relationship with the microbial world was forever changed. We went from ignorance to fear. We declared war. We began to see microbes as invaders, as filth, as tiny monsters to be scrubbed, sanitized, and annihilated from our lives. The germ theory of disease was born, and it cast a long, dark shadow over our understanding of biology. For the next century, our goal was simple: kill the germs. But what if that was only half the story? What if, in our war against the enemy, we were also destroying our oldest and most essential allies? That's the question that brings us to a quiet lab in Wisconsin, where a zoologist named Margaret McFall-Guy was studying one of the most enchanting creatures in the ocean, the Hawaiian bobtail squid. This tiny animal, no bigger than your thumb, has a secret. On its underside, it has a special organ that houses a colony of glowing bacteria. At night, these bacteria produce a soft light that shines downward, perfectly matching the moonlight filtering through the water from above. The effect is a kind of biological stealth technology. The squid casts no shadow, making it invisible to predators hunting from below. It's a beautiful partnership, but McFall discovered something even more profound. When a baby squid hatches, it's born sterile. It has no bacteria. Its light organ is just a simple undeveloped structure. Only when the right kind of glowing bacteria, Vibrio fischeri, arrive from the surrounding seawater, does the magic happen. The bacteria don't just move in. They trigger a cascade of changes. They signal the squid's own genes to build them a perfect home. The organ grows, it changes shape, it develops complex structures, all under the direction of its tiny microbial tenants. Think about what that means. The squid doesn't build its own body alone. It needs its bacterial partners to complete its development. It's a process of co-development. This isn't just an animal hosting bacteria. This is an animal and bacteria building a body together. This discovery shattered the old idea that an animal's development is a closed program, run exclusively by its own genes. Turns out, the instruction manual for building an animal isn't written in a single language. It's a conversation between the host and its microbes. And this isn't just true for some obscure squid, it's true for us. Scientists who've studied mice, raised in completely sterile, germ-free bubbles, have found that these animals are, frankly, a mess. Their guts are underdeveloped. Their immune systems are weak and confused. Even their brains are wired differently. They're living proof that to become a fully functional animal, you need your microbes. They're our bodybuilders. They teach our immune system the difference between friend and foe. They help construct the very organs we rely on. So if these partnerships are so ancient and essential, where did they begin? For a clue, we can look at our most distant animal relatives. Tiny, single-celled creatures called choanoflagellates. They look a bit like sperm with a little color, and they swim around eating bacteria. But sometimes, they do something amazing. When a choanoflagellate senses a specific molecule released by a certain type of bacteria, it stops dividing into separate individuals. Instead, the cells stick together, forming a beautiful, spherical colony, a multi-celled organism. It's possible that the very first animals on Earth arose in a similar way. Our single-celled ancestors, living in a world already dominated by microbes for billions of years, may have been nudged into multicellularity by the bacteria they were eating. The origin of the entire animal kingdom might have been a symbiotic event. But this dance between animals and microbes is never a simple love story. It's more of a complex, constantly shifting negotiation, full of conflict, cooperation, and what Ed Yong calls terms and conditions. To understand this, we have to meet one of the most fascinating microbes on the planet, Wolbachia. If there were a master manipulator in the microbial world, this would be it. Wolbachia is a bacterium that infects insects, and it's spectacularly successful. It's estimated to live inside at least 40% of all insect species on Earth, and its success comes from its ability to hijack the sex lives of its hosts. Because Wolbachia is only passed down from a mother to her offspring through her eggs, males are an evolutionary dead end for the bacterium, so Wolbachia has evolved incredible strategies to get rid of them. In some insects, it kills all the male embryos. In others, it chemically castrates the males or even transforms them into females. In one species of wasp, it enables the females to reproduce without any males at all, creating all female lineages of clones. It's a ruthless reproductive parasite. And yet, that's not the whole story. In bedbugs, Wolbachia is an essential partner, providing the B vitamins that are missing from their blood-only diet. Without it, the bedbugs can't survive. In filarial worms, the microscopic parasites that cause horrific diseases like river blindness and elephantiasis, the worms are completely dependent on their resident Wolbachia. If you treat the worms with an antibiotic that kills the bacteria, the worms die too. So what is Wolbachia? A villain or a hero? A parasite or a partner? The answer is, it depends. This is one of the book's most important lessons. There's no such thing as a good microbe or a bad microbe. These are human labels that don't apply to the messy reality of nature. A microbe's role is all about context. The same bacteria that are essential in your gut could be deadly if they get into your bloodstream. A partnership is not a state of being, it's a behavior. It's a negotiation that can shift from cooperation to conflict in the blink of an eye. Given this constant tension, how do animals manage their multitudes? How do we ensure our microbial partners are more helpful than harmful? Our bodies have evolved incredibly sophisticated ways to act as master gardeners for our inner ecosystems. First, we create the right environment. Different parts of our body are like different ecosystems. The dry, cool desert of your forearm supports a very different community of microbes than the warm, humid rainforest of your armpit. Your stomach is a highly acidic ocean where only a few specialists, like Helicobacter pylori, can survive. Second, we build fences. Our gut is lined with a thick layer of mucus that acts as a physical barrier, keeping the trillions of bacteria in the central tube from touching the delicate cells of our intestinal wall. This demilitarized zone is fiercely patrolled by our immune system. But our immune system isn't just a blunt weapon. It's more like a team of skilled park rangers. It doesn't just kill all intruders. It learns to tolerate the resident microbes while selectively targeting any that get out of line or any dangerous invaders. And who teaches the immune system how to do this? The microbes themselves. From the moment we're born, our microbes are educating our immune cells, calibrating their responses, and teaching them to keep the peace. And third, we provide food. This is perhaps the most incredible strategy of all, and it begins with a mother's milk. Human breast milk is a biological marvel. A significant portion of it is made up of complex sugars called human milk oligosaccharides, or HMOs. And here's the amazing part. A baby cannot digest them. For decades, this was a huge mystery. Why would a mother expend so much energy making food her baby can't even eat? The answer is, she's not feeding the baby. She's feeding the baby's microbes. These HMOs travel undigested to the large intestine, where they serve as the perfect food for a very specific and beneficial bacterium called B. infantis. A mother's milk isn't just nourishing her child, it's a prebiotic, designed to cultivate the perfect microbial garden inside her baby's gut. It's a way of passing on not just genes, but a healthy ecosystem. This delicate balance, this ancient contract between animals and microbes, has been stable for millions of years. But today, in our modern world, we're tearing that contract to shreds, and the consequences are showing up in our health. Think of a coral reef. It's one of the most vibrant ecosystems on the planet, a bustling city of life built by tiny coral animals. But corals, too, are holobionts. They depend on symbiotic algae for food and a community of bacteria for protection. When the ocean gets too warm or polluted, the corals become stressed. They expel their algae, they bleach, and their protective microbiome shifts. Harmless bacteria are replaced by opportunistic pathogens. The entire ecosystem collapses. The vibrant city becomes a ghostly graveyard. Ed Yong uses this powerful metaphor to explain what's happening inside our own bodies. Our modern lifestyle is like a source of pollution for our internal ecosystems. Antibiotics, for example, are miracle drugs, but they're also like dropping a bomb on our gut microbiome. They wipe out both the good and the bad bacteria, creating a barren landscape where opportunistic pathogens like the dreaded C. difficile can take over. Our obsession with sanitation, our move from farms to cities, and even the rise of cesarean sections are all changing the microbes we're exposed to, especially in early life. A baby born via C-section doesn't get that initial, crucial dose of microbes from its mother's birth canal. Instead, its first colonists are bacteria from skin and the hospital environment. This could explain why C-section babies have a slightly higher risk of developing allergies, asthma, and obesity later in life. And then there's our diet. For most of human history, we ate a diet rich in fiber, complex carbohydrates from plants that we can't digest, but our gut microbes can. Fiber is the preferred food of our beneficial bacteria. When we eat a modern Western diet, low in fiber and high in processed foods, we're essentially starving our microbial allies. Some may even go extinct within our guts. Justin and Erica Sonnenberg, two leading researchers, have shown that a low-fiber diet can cause microbial diversity to plummet, and these losses can become permanent over generations. We're losing our old friends. This widespread disruption of our microbiome, this state of ecological imbalance known as dysbiosis, is now linked to a whole host of modern plagues: inflammatory bowel disease, allergies, autoimmune disorders, and even obesity and malnutrition. The work of Jeff Gordon, a pioneer in the field, has been revolutionary here. He showed that if you take the gut microbes from an obese mouse and transfer them into a skinny, germ-free mouse, the skinny mouse will start to gain weight, even on the same diet. The microbes themselves were transmitting the trait. He found a similar connection in human malnutrition. Children in Malawi with a severe form of malnutrition called kwashiorkor have immature gut microbiomes. Their inner ecosystems look like those of much younger, healthy children. The community has failed to develop properly, and this, in turn, prevents them from extracting enough nutrients from their food. This all sounds pretty bleak. We've broken our ancient partnership. Our inner ecosystems are collapsing. But the story doesn't end there. Because if we're the cause of the problem, we can also be the solution. Our new understanding of the microbiome is opening the door to a new kind of medicine, one based not on killing, but on gardening. One of the most powerful tools in this new medicine is the ability for microbes to share genes. Unlike animals, which only pass genes down from parent to child, bacteria can trade genes horizontally, like kids trading cards. This is called horizontal gene transfer, or HGT. It allows them to adapt with incredible speed, and sometimes we benefit from this. A fascinating study found that the gut bacteria of Japanese people contain a special gene for digesting seaweed, a gene that's otherwise only found in marine bacteria. How did it get there? Over centuries of eating raw seaweed, marine bacteria were introduced into Japanese guts. At some point, one of these marine microbes passed its seaweed-digesting gene to a resident gut bacterium. That gut bacterium then thrived and was passed down through generations. The Japanese people, through their diet, had essentially borrowed an adaptation from the ocean. This is evolution in fast forward. And on rare occasions, these microbial genes don't just jump into other microbes, they jump directly into the animal's own genome. The two-spotted spider mite, a tiny pest, can eat plants containing cyanide because it stole a cyanide detoxifying gene from a bacterium. It has a microbial superpower written into its own DNA. This opens up a world of possibilities. If our microbiome is so important for our health, can we fix it when it goes wrong? The simplest approach is probiotics, swallowing beneficial bacteria in a pill or a yogurt. The idea is sound, but in practice, most commercial probiotics are like tourists passing through our gut. They don't stick around. A more radical and far more effective approach is a fecal microbiota transplant, or FMT. It's exactly what it sounds like. Doctors take a stool sample from a healthy donor, process it, and transfer it into the gut of a sick patient. It's an ecosystem transplant. And for treating recurrent C. difficile infections, it's nothing short of a miracle. It has a cure rate of over 90%, far higher than any antibiotic. It's a powerful demonstration that restoring a healthy, diverse community of microbes can cure a disease that antibiotics created. But the future of microbial medicine may be even more precise. Scientists are now working on creating, a la carte, probiotics, personalized cocktails of specific strains designed to address an individual's unique microbial deficiencies. Some are even going a step further, using synthetic biology to engineer bacteria to act as tiny doctors inside our bodies. Imagine swallowing a bacterium that's been programmed to detect the early signs of colon cancer and then produce a drug to kill the tumor cells right at the source. Perhaps the most inspiring example of this new era comes from a project called Eliminate Dengue, led by an Australian scientist named Scott O'Neill. Dengue fever is a devastating viral disease transmitted by mosquitoes. For decades, O'Neill tried to fight it, with little success. Then he had a brilliant idea. He took that master manipulator, Wolbachia, the bacterium that doesn't naturally infect the dengue mosquito, and, after years of painstaking work, managed to create a new, stable symbiosis. And he discovered something incredible. When the mosquitoes carry Wolbachia, the dengue virus can't replicate inside them. The bacterium makes them dengue-proof. And because of Wolbachia's manipulative tricks, when O'Neill releases a small number of these infected mosquitoes into the wild, the bacterium spreads like wildfire through the entire population. In a matter of months, he can transform an entire city's worth of disease-spreading mosquitoes into a dengue-blocking army. It's a self-sustaining, eco-friendly, and profoundly clever solution to a global health crisis. He's not killing the enemy. He's turning the enemy into an ally. This is the power of seeing the world through a microbial lens. It changes everything. It even changes the space around us. We're not self-contained vessels. We're all constantly shedding a microbial cloud into the environment around us. Every hour, you release millions of bacteria into the air. When you live in a house, you quickly colonize it with your personal microbiome. Within 24 hours of moving in, your home's microbial signature becomes a reflection of you. This means we can also design our environments to cultivate healthier microbiomes. Architects are now thinking about bio-informed design, creating buildings that promote microbial diversity, perhaps by improving ventilation or using specific materials. Maybe one day, hospitals will be seeded with beneficial bacteria to outcompete dangerous pathogens. From the smallest bacterium to the largest city, these invisible connections are everywhere. We're not separate from the world, we're woven into its microbial fabric. We're never truly alone, we're teeming, interconnected ecosystems, waltzing through life with trillions of partners who were here long before us, and who'll be here long after we're gone. They're our ancestors, our architects, and our inheritance. They're the multitudes we contain. When you finish a book like I Contain Multitudes, you walk away with a feeling that's hard to shake. It's a sense of wonder, but also a sense of humility. The central idea that we're not individuals but walking ecosystems is so simple, yet so profound, that it changes your entire perspective. It's like putting on a new pair of glasses and suddenly seeing a hidden layer of reality that was there all along. What I find most powerful about Ed Yong's work is how he moves beyond the simple and frankly boring narrative of germs are bad. He shows us that the microbial world isn't a battleground of good versus evil. It's a complex, dynamic, and beautiful ecosystem governed by the principles of ecology, competition, cooperation, and context. Our health isn't about being sterile. It's about being in balance. It's about maintaining a healthy, diverse, and resilient inner garden. This shift in perspective has massive implications for how we live. For decades, we've been waging a war on microbes with our antibiotics, our sanitizers, and our processed diets. And in doing so, we may have been creating the very diseases we were trying to prevent. The rise of allergies, autoimmune disorders, and inflammatory bowel disease in the Western world isn't just a medical mystery. It's an ecological crisis happening inside our own bodies. We've been clear-cutting our internal rainforests and wondering why the ecosystem is collapsing. But the message of this book is ultimately one of hope, because once you see yourself as a gardener, you realize you have tools. You have the power to cultivate your inner world. So, what are a few simple, practical things you can do, starting today, to become a better steward of your multitudes? First, feed your microbes. The single most important thing you can do is eat more fiber. Fruits, vegetables, legumes, whole grains. These are the foods that your beneficial bacteria thrive on. Think of it this way. Every meal is a choice. You're not just feeding yourself. You're choosing which of your trillions of residents get to eat. When you choose a fiber-rich plant, you're nourishing the allies that keep your gut lining strong and your immune system calm. Second, be mindful of antibiotics. They're life-saving drugs, but they're not to be taken lightly. Always use them as prescribed by a doctor, and never for a viral infection like a cold. Think of them as a controlled burn in a forest, sometimes necessary, but always disruptive. After a course of antibiotics, focus on rebuilding your inner ecosystem with fiber-rich foods and fermented foods like yogurt or kefir. And third, embrace a little bit of dirt. We've become too clean for our own good. Don't be afraid to play outside, to get a pet, to open a window. By re-engaging with the microbial world around us, we can replenish the diversity of our inner world, especially in early life. We need to relearn how to live with our old friends. That was a summary of I Contain Multitudes by Ed Yong. We've explored the main currents of this incredible book today, but I'll be honest with you, a summary can only guide you to the riverbank. The real magic happens when you dive in yourself. It's in the quiet moments of reading, when a particular story or a simple phrase connects with you in a way you didn't expect. This summary is a map designed to help you decide if this journey is for you. If anything we've talked about today has sparked your curiosity, I truly encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning facts. It's an experience that can genuinely change the way you see yourself, your health, and your place in the living world. The link to the book is in the description below. Also, if you found this summary valuable, please take a moment to click that like button and subscribe to the channel. It lets me know that we're on the right track, and it ensures you won't miss our next deep dive into another life-changing book from the Billionaire's Bookshelf. Let's keep learning and growing together.